Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, whatever you are, or good night, whenever you're watching this. How are you doing? Me? I'm going to work, thankfully God. So it's gonna be as brief as possible because I cannot walk slow for far too long. I just don't want to get late. But in order to record better the image, I have to walk slower. Today's topic is about freedom and responsibility. I've been pondering about it and I would like to talk about it. Oh, here's an issue I have. The other day I was bantering with my brother. He's an extreme libertarian, and although I do love libertarian ideas, and I'm gonna keep on the next video talking about the difference between ideas and reality and ideologies and reality, it's that unfortunately, although libertarianism is really good on paper, there's some flaws to it. Oh my god, this is so lovely. I forgot this part of the trail. Here's the issue. Freedom carries responsibility. Once you are free to do something, you're also responsible of the consequences of such freedoms. And although some countries do get along very well with that concept, and they do manage the freedoms in a very sensible way, there are other countries that don't manage those in a sensible way. And it's mainly due to culture. If your culture is very much into you have duties and responsibilities and that culture is going to manage very well freedom. Now if your culture, it's always saying to the population, oh, responsibilities are for dummies, oh, responsibilities are old people stuff, duty, what is even that? That culture is not going to manage very well with freedoms. They will want all of the freedoms, none of the responsibilities, and that is terrible very quickly. Or they will not manage that freedom they have in a sensible way. And I have seen it happening in politics. Because when I used to be in politics back in the day, I was a bit of a libertarian myself too. Not too awfully much, because I was always grounded in reality, but I quickly realized people didn't manage freedom in the same way in other countries do, my country. And that's why we are where we are. One very good example of that is voting in my country. People have the duty to vote. They have the freedom to vote whoever they want to. However, in the election period, you can tell that people how they just get very short-term thinkers. They're very short-term thinkers, and they don't think of the responsibility of properly voting. And they normally vote to the person who gives them the most things. And whenever they realize that the person who gives them the most things are oftentimes the ones abusing them, which is like, wow, you have discovered the Americas. The issue is when people say, yes, we're going to vote for someone who gives us what we need, not what we want. We need to lower the taxes, we need to lower the overspending of the government, But the moment someone like that rises to power, they're like, why are you cutting back on costs? What do you mean I have to do this and that? What do you mean I can't have access to free money? It's not free money, it's coming from the taxes in your milk, in your food. That's making you poor, like chronically poor. And people are just like, no, I want you to cut it back on something else. What do you mean you have to fire 10,000 people who are lazy and never working inside of the state. They're just collecting money for free from the state. That extra overspending they have. What do you mean by that? No, you have to ensure they have a job. Just like, dude, you want me to cut spending, and these people are doing nothing for the country. They're literally leeches. Of course we have to cut back on them. No, make sure someone else makes the sacrifice, not me. It's like, oh my god, short-sighted can you possibly be? So, on one hand, I can understand the position of the people, because if they're dependent on that money, but the thing is, this creates a very codependent relationship with the governor, with the ruler of the moment. If the ruler of the moment wants to give you money, they will give it to you. You have to do things in return, you have to do things you're not morally aligned to. But it's free money. Why wouldn't I give up all of my freedoms to that man or woman? It's just like, it's not free. You're giving your life, the life of your children, the safety and the freedoms of our country to a despotic leader just for a little bit of a coin. Not even too much money. I'm talking about very little money sometimes, and it's just so sad. But it comes and it stems sometimes from the lack mentality, and they are like, but I want someone else to do the sacrifice. I want you to cut back on someone else spending, not mine. It's just like, my dude, if we cut back on everyone's overspending, we can lower the taxes and everyone needs less money. You will need less because you will not be spending that much on food to begin with. Like, recently ago, many journalists went to Ukraine for the whole Ukraine situation. And they quickly realized, journalists, that on a war zone, middle of a battlefield, like Kiev or Kiev, whatever you like to call it, in its worst moments of having Russians all over the place, inside of the capital, they had lower prices than we do here in Argentina. Like, milk was cheaper than here, and we fucking produce it. Sorry the language, it's just ugh. And it's so unfair. It's not unfair for Ukrainians, it's probably fair price, but it's like at least a quarter, if not half. Some estimates calculate about 60% of the prices in the food are taxes. So you can see how overspending can get out of control very quickly. Pathetic, moronic, miserable, hypocritical people come to power, and they have their cousin's cousin's lover, and everyone working in the government. And they don't really work. They just get paid for doing nothing. Literally nothing. Oh yeah, sustaining the government the way it is. They do nothing. When I mean do nothing, they don't even appear in a building once a year. No, not even that. What for? They just collect the money. Period. People don't really realize that with each thing that they're giving away, there's a freedom that they lose. Yes, they don't have the responsibility to do something out of themselves. They don't have the responsibility of actually doing something meaningful with their lives. They have lost that freedom to do something meaningful with their lives too. And that's how you become a South American country. Congratulations. Now you can avoid it in your own. So the unfortunate thing sometimes is people don't realize how much responsibility has freedom. And whenever you give them that responsibility, okay, you're free to do whatever you want. Okay, I'm gonna do something stupid. They don't take it with responsibility that is required. Why? Because culturally, responsibility is for dummies. It's not cool. I know a humongous amount of people who are both sensible and responsible. And there is a lot of corruption, don't get me wrong, in the elections. That's the very reason when I got myself into politics. I was one of the people who watch over the election to ensure there was some degree of normalcy, like they wouldn't steal too much of a vote. There's so many tactics to steal voting. Paper ballots especially, it's very, very easy to steal votes. I've already spoke about this while the election was happening. But yeah, that's essentially the topic of the day. How freedom, and this comes to every degree. Like when you move away from your parents, yes, you have the freedom you have never had, but you also have the responsibility of paying your own bills. Duh. So, this applies to every level of the spectrum, and the very reason why I think libertarian ideas are very good, but any idea you have to complement it with reality, with the realities of life. And sadly, my culture wouldn't function very well with libertarianism. You know why? Because they don't take their responsibilities very seriously. Many, no, I'm not saying everyone, but plenty of people. That's what I said, yeah. In a civilized country, or somewhat civilized country, people would drag politicians outside of their offices for half of the things they have done in my country. Here we vote them. What makes you think they take any severe amount of sensibility, their responsibilities? Just they're not sensible enough. I'm not saying like the villains in a movie, you should not allow people to vote. They should vote, but most importantly, they should learn about being more sensible with their responsibilities. And that's something that, especially those who benefit from having no boundaries, making you irresponsible in life, they tend to teach the children responsibilities, old people stuff, you know, just some ridiculous concept, old-fashioned thing like honor. Oh, who cares about honor? I know honor has been abused by evil people to do evil things, but honor, it's also important because you have to think, what legacy are you leaving behind to your name and your children? That's the concept of honor, essentially. It has been abused, of course, but like any concept, like freedom has been abused. All of the concepts, anything that is good can be tamed or abused by someone evil, unfortunately. That's why most of my videos sounds like an evil villain speech. But the reality is, you have to balance ideas with reality. And I'm going to talk about that in the next video, because right now I have to go to work. But the reality is just sometimes people don't really take seriously their freedoms. It's just, and that's why at one point in our country, roughly in the 1880s, one politician said, and one president said, we have to teach these people how to be more sensible and civilized. Because if we don't, they're gonna align themselves to the next dictator that comes around the corner. So we need to focus ourselves in educating people. It is either education or killing them. So what are we going to choose? Education. So he educated most of the population. And we became a great country for a little while. And back in the 1940s, a dude said, no, you know what? You need is freedom. And you need rights. And who cares about responsibility? Responsibilities, a conservative talking point, you know, it's just so old-fashioned. Jasmine's in this time of the year, wow, that's a tough jasmine. Responsibilities for dummies. And since the 1940s, that man transformed, and his ideology, the country in a third world country, if not underdeveloped. I mean, I think not surely ago we fall down from the characteristic of being a developing country, and we're no longer a developing country, which is sad, because my country, I have seen a lot of people struggle and do their best. We're no longer developing anymore, because we have come to this critical point in which too many people have, we call it libertinaje. It's not freedom, it's like an excessive amount of freedom, like a toddler that is unruly. They just don't have freedom, they just have libertinaje. They do whatever they want, whenever they want. So I'm going to try to find a word in English, and an equivalent word, and write it down over there. It's that thing, because there's a lot of sensible and responsible people in this country. But we have come to the point in which the amount of sensible people paying taxes and doing things as they should, it's less, or at least it's overburdened, or it's leaving the country, or it's overburdened with taxes and the security measures that they placed the year before. They just lost their jobs or something like that, and they're just leaving the country, so we're no longer developing. So yeah, I'm gonna have to cut this video around here because work. I hope you have liked it. I'm so sorry I was ranting for a little while. And as a final thought, I told to my brother, what makes you think that people would be sensible with their freedoms? We already have way too many freedoms. People are just not sensible enough to say, you know what, instead of depending on the government, making my own money, opening a company, why to do that? Why to be sensible and pay taxes when I can just ask money from the government and they will finance my life? So they become my sugar daddy, something like that. Hashtag sugar daddy, government sugar daddy. So I told him, what makes you think they're going to be sensible with that libertinaje that you're talking about when they're not sensible enough to take their responsibilities as they should? They were the ones who voted these people to begin with in the government. What makes you think they're going to be sensible? Because yeah, it sounds romantic to say, yeah, the government should not step in, they should not charge taxes, they should not. Yeah, but you also have a humongous amount of population who are now codependent, and all of the money have come for the past 20 or 30 years on that family. Everyone has been financed by the government. They have been living off Argentinian taxes. What makes you think that person tomorrow is not going to be doing a protest, or even worse, taking down the government that removed the taxes and also removed the pensions, the free money? They will do their best to take it down as soon as possible. That way, the dictatorial government that kept taxes high but gave them free money will come back, because it's their sugar daddy. So of course they want them back. So you have to be mindful about it, and that's one of the things that I think I was in the opposition to Macri. He was quite a libertarian. Fortunately, he found himself with the realities of the country, that people want others to make the sacrifice, not themselves. So if they can get free money from the government, why not? So then you have a significant amount of people who are doing nothing, getting paid absurd amounts of money that come from taxes. And if you take them up, if you pull the plug on them, they will come to your house and they will burn you to the ground, all of them. And it doesn't take too many people to do that. It takes just 3 people to do that. Just crazy people. The unfortunate thing is when you pull the plug on such a massive amount of people, things get ugly, and he chose peace before doing what he wanted. Because people say, oh, Argentina has 30 years of democracy. The reality is we have less than 30, less than 20, because governments have been knocked down for less, for way less, and there haven't been any blood in the streets because presidents tried to, the ones who rise to the power, were a bit more libertarian. They had to choose, what do I do? What I want to do, or what is best to preserve peace and some democracy, some level of democracy. And people always choose dictatorial governments because they don't want to be responsible of their own fate. And I know it sounds like Loki's talking, it's just like, I'm sorry, but that's the truth in some countries. Some people are just culturally lazy. I'm not saying that they're lazy in reality, just saying that if they can take the advantage of a free money government, they will. And that's a sad thing, but it's a sad reality of life we have to look at. And individually we have to look at our own belly buttons and say, what's our own responsibility in our lack of freedom? What am I too comfortable with? Who am I allowing to abuse me? And it has nothing to do with governments. In my life, in exchange for some comfort, the comfort of taking no responsibility on something. This could be even attached to overweight, to anything you want to. So yeah, let me know what you think about this. I might be wrong, of course, from your perspective. I hope you have liked it, found it interesting, enlightening, educational, entertaining, I don't know. And just tell me what you would like to change in your life. What would you like to take responsibility on? And by taking responsibility on those things, what freedoms are you going to gain? I got a long list of responsibilities to take. I've been too comfortable with some uncomfortable things. It's just that has been chipping away on my freedoms. And it can be even your own body, your own overweight, something like that. What are you going to take responsibility with this year, this week? Don't procrastinate, just assume the responsibility that you're the only one who's going to make the changes to have freedom. Please don't accuse me of anything. I'm not calling people into a revolution. It's just, I'm not saying that you should make a revolution in your country. I'm just saying make a revolution in yourself. And if each individual would make a revolution in themselves, the countries would change dramatically. The world would change because everyone is responsible with their own lives. Yeah, we all have bad moments, low moments, but we will all improve. There will be an overall improvement in everyone's life and freedoms. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a beautiful day, beautiful week, and yeah, until next time, bye bye.